This is the story of Katarzyna Zowada, which is also known as the skin murder. This case is considered the Silence of the Lambs Polish edition. There is a graphic description in this case. If you're sensitive to such content, please click away. 23-year-old Katarzyna Zowada, and she was called Kasia by her family and friends. She was a young, bright woman who, in 1998, enrolled in one of the most famous Polish universities, the Jagiellonian University, located in Kraków. Katarzyna's friends would often describe her as a nice, kind, but also shy and withdrawn person. She was going through a personal tragedy. She just lost her father, and she was going through some mental struggles. A few weeks before her disappearance, she stopped attending classes altogether. On November 12th, 1998, Kasia was supposed to meet her mother at the psychiatric clinic in Nowa Huta. And this was the institution where she had been getting treated for her depression. But the problem is, she never showed up to the appointment with her mom, and her mom couldn't really get in touch with her. She even attempted to file a missing persons report at the local police station on the same day, but the officer taking the report told her to basically wait. On January 6th, 1999, nearly 2 months after Katarzyna Zowada went missing, there was an unexpected, gruesome discovery at the shore of Vistula River. The crew of the Elk, they pulled upper body human skin out of the engine. The police later was called, and they examined the finding and conducted a DNA test the following day, which actually revealed that the skin belonged to none other but the missing girl, Katarzyna. Later, Katarzyna's right leg was also found floating in the river on January 14th. At first, it was assumed that the body must have been floating in the river, like basically she drowned, and then, she simply got entangled, and destroyed by the passing boat. But upon further examination, a much darker story came to light. And you know what the worst part of this story is? The worst part was that the killer skinned Kasia in such a precise way that the skin created a bodysuit which the police believes the killer was wearing for a while. That was his intention. There were at least 2 persons of interest in the case back in 1999, but both of them were soon ruled out, and Katarzyna's case was slowly going cold. In 2001, the investigation was formally dropped due to lack of suspects and sufficient evidence to continue with the case. However, the detectives and officers directly involved in the case still continued investigating credible leads. And in 2012, there was a new lead. They exhume Kasia again. When they do, they found traces of some unidentified plants and organic fibers. And experts said that those did not belong to a plant or any flora growing in the water or any, body of water, which meant that this murder was not committed by the river. This means that this body was definitely moved. And then we get to the suspect. 19 years after the murder, on October 4th, 2017, police arrested 52-year-old Robert Janczewski in Kraków. At the time of his arrest, investigators searched his apartment and found blood in the bathroom. The area was secured for testing, but the results were never released to the public. This definitely wasn't, Kasia's blood, but it could have been another victim. Investigators did consider Robert a person of interest back in 1999, but they didn't have enough evidence to go through with the arrest. But if you look at the profile of this person, of Robert, he fit the psychological profile of the killer in Katarzyna's case. because he was trained in martial arts, he served in the military before, and he had a history of harassing women. Moreover, he had previously worked in a dissecting lab. He was considered by his friends, by his neighbors, he was considered a strange individual or suspicious. What's interesting about that job at the Institute of Zoology, it was that his contract with the Institute was terminated after an incident in which he had killed all of the Institute's rabbits during his shift. And when his employer asked about the reason for this behavior, like why did he do this, he could not actually explain why he had done so. The police also discovered that he had previously visited Katarzyna's grave. Robert was charged with aggravated murder with particular cruelty, although he basically maintains no knowledge of the murder or the victim. And while the trial is still ongoing as of 2022, Robert has not been sentenced for Katarzyna's murder. He remains in custody. At this point, we can only wait for the final sentence. But did Robert have an accomplice? Because the police kind of believes that there could have been more than one person. This likely is the guy, but it's still unsolved.